he was saying like kind of truths, but exaggerating so much and putting it in such different contexts to where I looked like a crazy. And I was like, I feel hopeless. It just kind of feels weird, like it feels fake, because we were together on social media and we were making videos on social media and like kissing even on other people's YouTube channels. And then in like reality, we were friends and kind of flirty, but also like not dating.
Sienna Mae has been holding on to this story for 3 years now. 3 whole years of staying quiet while everyone else talked about her. And now she's finally ready to spill the tea. Trust me, there's a lot to unpack here. So grab your popcorn and let's dive in. To put it simply, the past 3 years of Sienna's life have been a whirlwind of drama, trauma, and chaos. So much so that she didn't want to share it with anyone except her close family and friends. But after keeping it all bottled up for so long, she realized her silence was giving people free rein to make up all sorts of crazy rumors about her. So, here we go. Let's rewind back to 2020. It all started right in the middle of the pandemic when everyone was stuck at home with way too much time on their hands. Sienna, however, got lucky on TikTok. All it took was one viral moment, and from there, her life changed. Within 2 weeks, she was gaining millions of followers, and that's when she started connecting with big names in the influencer world. The Hype House, the Sway House, all those creators who were blowing up.
Told me, I'm not gonna date you because I don't like you like that, but I'm also not going to make that YouTube video with you because I don't think it's good for the brand.
Around the same time, she reconnected with Jack Wright, who she knew from school. It felt natural to collab with someone familiar, but little did Sienna know that decision would come back to haunt her in the worst way. Before things went south, though, Sienna and Jack had a pretty good run. He helped her with brand deals, and soon enough, she was hanging out with TikTok royalty. As Jack and his brother were already deep in the influencer scene, she started spending more time with them, creating content, and just riding the wave of success. Their videos together started getting super flirty, and of course the fans loved it. People shipped them hard, and Sienna admits that at the time it was fun and felt really good. The couple content was a hit, the views were through the roof. From dancing together to all the lovey-dovey TikToks, they played the game and played it well. Keep in mind though, Sienna was only 16 at the time, living her best life, partying in LA, and hanging out with creators she used to watch. But as it often goes, things didn't stay perfect for long. From the outside, everything seemed perfect. Sienna and Jack were the epitome of the TikTok couple, posting flirty videos, attending high-profile events, and even doing press interviews together. But behind the scenes, things were very different. This was Sienna's first chance to address one of the biggest questions people had at the time. Were they really dating, or was it all just for show? 3 years later, we finally have the answer. While fans saw kisses and playful banter, the reality was that Sienna and Jack were just friends. Maybe with a little chemistry, but nothing serious. Unfortunately for Sienna, she developed real feelings, wanting more than just the content and attention they were creating together. But Jack never had any intention of making it real. For him, she was simply an asset to his brand, while for her, it was about emotions and connection. Things got messy. Jack would get territorial whenever another guy showed interest in Sienna, calling her his girlfriend and pulling her into his world, only to dangle the idea of a relationship in front of her without ever truly committing. Slowly, Sienna realized that she was being used, only brought in when it benefited him. Over time, the excitement of making content together faded, and she found herself stuck in what felt like a never-ending situationship. After almost a year of this back and forth, Sienna reached her breaking point. She told Jack that they needed to clear things up, and she was ready to move on. His response was brutally honest. He didn't like her enough to date her, but he was also reluctant to publicly set the record straight because it would hurt their brand. That was the final straw for Sienna. Her mental health had taken enough hits, and she knew she had to take control of her narrative.
He was taking like subtle truths about things. Like he said, I'll give an example of like, he said I broke into his garage, but I didn't break in. All of our friends group had the code to his garage. So, I mean, his house was like the hangout house, and we would all just kind of come in and hang out, and like I would bring over groceries or dinner or cookies or things like that, and we would literally all hang out at their house. Like their house was literally like a frat house in the way that people were always just there, and not even like exaggerating, literally 10 people had the code to his garage.
She decided to make a video herself to clear the air, promising not to drag Jack, but to simply set the record straight. After filming, she cut off all contact with him, no texts, no calls. But while she was ready to move on, Jack wasn't. He panicked daily, worried that Sienna would expose him in the video, and of course that's when everything took a turn for the worse. Do you remember when that video surfaced? The one where it looked like Sienna was being inappropriate with Jack? Accusations flooded social media, claims of body shaming, verbal abuse, even assault. It was one of the most unforgettable moments for Sienna, and she still remembers exactly where she was and what she was wearing the first time she saw those tweets. It felt like the ground was pulled out from under her. Lawyers got involved, cease and desist letters were sent, and although Jack's friend eventually took the video down, the damage had already been done. The rumors spiraled out of control, and Sienna was left feeling completely lost. Her only option was to step away from social media, delete the apps, and focus on herself again. It's a hard lesson, but she realized that sometimes the best move in the middle of a character-assassinating scandal is not to engage. Far too often, influencers make things worse with cringeworthy apologies or over-explaining, and it only fuels the fire. Looking back with a clearer perspective, Sienna now sees the red flags were there all along. But back then, she was too caught up in the fantasy to notice. Thankfully, she walked away when she did. Her team started looking into defamation lawsuits because the accusations were not only hurtful, they were completely fabricated. But things got even messier. Apparently, Jack's brother and a few of their friends had orchestrated the whole thing as some kind of joke. They posted the now infamous tweet from another friend's phone, thinking it was just harmless drama. But once the internet got hold of it, it was anything but harmless. Even though they took it down after another cease and desist, the damage was done, and the consequences were far from what they had imagined. It was too late. Screenshots were everywhere, gossip pages were all over it, and Sienna's world kept spiraling out of control. The hardest part, she says, was realizing these were her friends. Just weeks before, they were all hanging out, having fun, living their best lives, and now they were plotting against her. She was heartbroken, but more than that, she was furious. Sienna later shared text messages from Mason's dad, claiming Mason had nothing to do with the tweet. It was actually James who wrote it and sent it out using Mason's phone. But by then, the damage was done. Hate flooded in, with DMs calling her every name imaginable and even telling her to end her life. For anyone, let alone a 16-year-old, that kind of hate would be too much to bear. Her team was on it, lawyers and agents were making calls, but no one was really doing anything to fix the situation. Jack's side wasn't budging, and Sienna felt completely helpless. They put out some basic statements about handling things offline, but by that point, the situation had already escalated beyond repair. The next few weeks felt like a blur. Sienna wasn't just grieving the loss of her friends, she was grieving everything she had worked for. It hit her hard that in the blink of an eye, her career and reputation had been destroyed. After a month off social media to regroup and figure out how to make a comeback, Sienna thought she had the perfect plan, a song and dance video to explain her side of the story. But as we all know, that didn't go as expected. The video became infamous, remembered by many as one of the worst apologies in the history of the internet. The lyrics worked against her too. Imagine being accused of assault, going silent for weeks, and then coming back with a song that includes lines like, "I've done nothing wrong, I'm young, I just want to get a little wild, get a little high, kiss 100 boys, and not feel tied to them."